Hey everyone, this is an Alexa 35, and this is Kodak Vision 3 film stock. Will digital filmmaking suffer the same fate as film? That's the question. And the reason I pose that question is because both are the most advanced forms of filmmaking in their medium. Film for Kodak Vision 3 and the Alexa 35. And with the rise of AI, will film suffer the same fate? And by that, I mean, will it just be a niche used medium by the auteurs or the artists that have lots of budget, and the rest of society uses a more convenient medium? So think about that transition. In 2008, I think it was when Kodak Vision 3 came out. It was the most efficient, most scientifically advanced film stock ever made, but foot for foot, it is the least shot film stock in history compared to previous generations. I mean, someone could check my math on that, but they are not processing nearly as much film in Kodak Vision 3 as they had to previous generations of other Kodak, Fuji stocks, and so on. Less people shoot on film, despite the technology being as good as it ever could be. Same for digital. We live in an era where digital filmmaking is extremely affordable. It is extremely cutting edge. We're talking about full frame, like IMAX camera style, like digital cameras are coming out, and their price points are insane, like so good. So are we at that cliff where the convenience of AI generated video will become the main medium used and digital becomes the new film, where the artists with lots of budgets and the commitment to the craft use it as opposed to the mainstream audience? And I would beg to say that that is possibly the future. And it's going to be a huge change in the next 10 years. When digital first came out, people were probably intimidated, but it really proliferated into a time of media production that we had never seen before. Now, whether AI is going to bring that or not, we don't know. But that's my whole argument so far on digital versus film, of digital suffering the same fate of film, if that makes sense. I got more talking points here. Let me pull them up. Something interesting happened with Veo 3 when it came out, and that is that people didn't just watch Veo 3 videos because of the fact that it's a novelty of AI. Like, ooh, it's AI. People are watching it now for the content. They're watching it for the short films. And we haven't even gotten past the uncanny valley cliff and the fine tunes that are going to happen in the next generation of two of stable diffusion models for these video processors. So if already people are willing to suspend disbelief and watch it for genuine content, as opposed to previous versions where it was mostly just about novelty, where AI was genuinely just bothersome, it shows that consumption is acceptable. And if people are willing to accept AI, it replaces traditional physical and digital filmmaking. And that's where we're at. People don't want to spend money on producing things if the bare minimum is possible, if the convenience is possible for people to accept. If the consuming audience refused it, they wouldn't be using it. And in previous times of AI being used, it wasn't used on the mainstream, but we're going to see that transition. And that's why I'm saying digital filmmaking is going to suffer the same fate as film, is that it's more advanced than it's ever been, but it's getting phased out for a new medium, a new technology that's more convenient, faster, more economical, all of those things. So the investment into digital filmmaking, will we see it diminish? We don't know. But is there a future where the only time people use their physical production needs is on iPhones to scan people's faces, take pictures, and then input them into a 3D model or photogrammetry model for AI? Totally possible. Totally possible. So we are at a cliff here where by 2027, AI video will be indistinguishable from regular video. In terms of efficacy, 99% of outputted prompts will be just completely indistinguishable by 2027. We're at a place right now where we can detect at least 80% of the stuff. We're like, oh, that's AI generated. There's a very small portion of the population that can't detect it. It's older people, it's the really well done stuff. But then eventually your mind catches on, you know something's off about it. And then when you get educated on what to look for, you know it's a problem, but it's going to advance faster than we can detect in the next coming years. So that's what I'm talking about here. So where are we right now? We are at that Star Wars moment in The Phantom Menace where they were shooting on Sony cams and the audience that was experienced was like, oh, that looks like crap. like the filmmakers in the audience, and they were like, oh, we should have shot digitally, or we should have shot film instead of digital. The rest of the movie-going audience didn't care. And that's where we're at right now. You filmmakers, like we're frustrated at AI, but the general audience that gets just like immersed in it from young age to now, they're not going to care later on. It's just going to be the normalness, like the normacy for them. So that's where we're at right now. We're in the very early adoption phase, and like Veo 3, Kling, they're proving that people are willing to consume these pieces of assets, these content pieces that are just quickly generated. And the convenience, like imagine you have all your interests and it writes a show just for you and generates a show just for you. Physical production doesn't stand a chance. So this isn't to be like doom and gloom about it. It's just saying that film suffered a fate to the hands of digital because it wasn't economical, wasn't fast, it wasn't expedient, carried risk, to digital. Digital is suffering this, or not just digital, the whole like physical filmmaking aspect, 90% of it is at risk. Now, will there always be places that shoot real video production? Absolutely. But it will become less necessary. People are their own content houses now. So should you be afraid? My quick answer is no. Why? Because if your industry, video, is under threat right now, so is every other industry. Agentic AI is threatening every industry out there. And the good news is that means it's everybody's problem. It also means that there could be some really exciting productivity gains on the other side. It also means that potentially without proper regulation and proper outcome, it could result in a redistribution of wealth and all those productivity gains going to corporations and property owners. But that affects everyone, which means that in a post-labor economics world, we all have to work together. So if a bunch of people are unemployed and no one's able to spend, like that's everybody's problem. All this to say, video is going to change forever. It's going to change forever. That's not going to stop no matter what you do. Traditional filmmaking isn't dead, but it's getting under threat. It's becoming less useful. It's becoming less pragmatic. But there could also be some really, really cool stuff on the other side of this. I think the future is always scary. The unknown is always scary to people. But my answer is no, you shouldn't be afraid because we're all in this together. Some really cool stuff is on the other side. When we were giving up Kodak Vision 3 in exchange for digital filmmaking, a lot of people were disgusted by the loss of the art, the tradition, Panavision Genesis cameras. But then what came along was the Arri Alexa. What came along was the boom of independent films that were easy to produce for micro budgets to small budgets. That provided opportunities we'd never had before. So just await eagerly. As digital filmmaking and physical filmmaking suffers the same fate as film, let's just see what happens. What are your thoughts? Comment it, shoot it. Very curious to know what you think. Tell me if I'm being overly optimistic. If you're a naysayer, say nay. Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts.